Do you have a weak employee on your team that you just can't let go of because you can't afford to lose another person? What you need to understand is that you might actually be creating the exact turnover issues you're trying to avoid. Because while you're thinking, I can't afford to lose him or her, your best employees are getting pissed off and they're jumping ship. You probably know exactly who I'm talking about. This is the employee who's been with you forever. They know the business. They're reliable enough that losing them would really hurt, but they also create a disproportionate amount of your problems. You've had the conversations, you've had the excuses, you know that they're not performing at the level that you expect, but every time you consider actually holding them accountable, you chicken out because you're already struggling to find support and you're too afraid to lose the help you have. So you make another exception, and another and another. You think that you're protecting yourself from turnover, but there's a good chance you're actually feeding it. I've studied behavior in the workplace for over 15 years with a master's in organizational psychology and spent 25 years in the military working in recruiting and personnel selection for some of the most technical and demanding roles. Today, I help business owners fix their people problems and build simple, repeatable systems so that they can recruit, select, develop, and keep strong teams. And the one thing that I've seen over and over again is this. Top performers pay very close attention to what leaders tolerate, not what you say your standards are, what you actually allow. So in this video, I want to show you what happens when the fear of losing employees causes you to lower your standards. And more importantly, I'm going to show you what to do if you already have that problem employee on your team and you genuinely don't know whether you should keep them or let them go. Because I don't think the answer is to walk in tomorrow and start firing people. There is a much better way to handle it. It starts with one critical decision that you're going to need to make before you have another performance conversation. I learned just how important this was with one of my clients. She had an employee who probably caused about 90% of her people problems. She knew it, I knew it, and yet for years, she was terrified to let him go. Eventually she did, and a few weeks later, she sent me a message telling me that for the first time, she finally felt like she had a team that she could trust. Getting her there was not easy. The employee that she eventually let go was also the employee that she was convinced she could not afford to lose. This employee had been with her for years. He knew the company, he knew the job. He showed up in a business that experienced a lot of turnover that mattered. The problem was there was always something. Performance issues, excuses, not following the process, conversations that went nowhere, and my client was consistently picking up the pieces. She was already carrying too much operationally, but she was also carrying her employees emotionally. If someone had something going on at home, she was understanding. Someone had a reason they couldn't perform, she made exceptions for them. Someone needed another chance, she gave it to them. She genuinely cared about her people. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't care about your people, but that care had started turning into a lack of accountability. This particular employee had become almost untouchable. Every time we came back to his performance, the conversation eventually ended with, "But I can't lose him." And I understood why she felt that way. Her turnover was already high. Some of her strongest employees had left. She was having trouble replacing people, and this guy, despite everything else, was still there. So to her, he felt safe, except he wasn't creating stability. He was creating stress. He consumed an enormous amount of her attention. He was difficult to manage, and other people had to compensate for him. So I needed to help her reframe how she was thinking about this. She was so consumed by what happens if I lose him, but she could barely keep her head above water. So what she needed to be asking was, what happens if nothing changes? Because your strongest employees are watching too. They notice when they follow the rules and somebody else doesn't. They notice when they carry their weight and they have to carry someone else's. They notice when they get held accountable, but someone else gets another excuse. At first, they'll pick up the slack because they're good employees. But that quickly turns to resentment. They start asking, why am I trying so hard when apparently this is good enough? It's important to understand that high performers hold a strong identity and need to be in environments that reinforce their identity. So if they feel like they're surrounded by low performers, there is a high probability that they're going to stop identifying with the company altogether. That's when you have a much bigger problem. Step one, make the decision. So how do we fix this? I mentioned at the beginning of the video that you need to make an important decision before doing anything else. That decision is if you are actually willing to be a company worthy of top talent. Everybody says that they want great employees, reliable people, high performers, people who take ownership, people who actually care about the customer and the quality of their work. But great people want to work around other great people. They want to work for leaders who make them feel safe and protect the standard. You can't say that you want an A-player culture while repeatedly tolerating C-player behavior. At some point, you have to decide, what does it mean to be on this team? And are you willing to protect that? Because if the answer is no, no performance management system that I give you is going to fix this. You'll continue overriding the system every time accountability gets uncomfortable. So that's decision number one. We are going to be a company worthy of great people. That means the standard has to mean something. Now, the next step is resetting the expectations fairly. This is important. If you've spent years tolerating behavior and suddenly decide today that you're going to start holding everybody accountable, you need to be fair. You help create the current expectation. If people have been allowed to do something for 3 years, you can't pretend tomorrow that they should have magically known that everything changed. So reset the standard. Tell the team, here's what we expect moving forward. Make it clear, make it measurable wherever possible. Explain what accountability is going to look like. Explain the correction process. Give everyone the same opportunity to rise to it. This is where we introduce my 3-strike correction process with my clients, which you can grab a copy in the link below. The purpose wasn't to create a faster way to fire people, it was actually the opposite. It created a fair process for giving someone the opportunity to correct their performance. No surprises, no emotional decisions, no, I've just had enough, you're fired. The employee knows what is expected. They know where they're falling short. They know what needs to change, and they know what happens if it doesn't. And then it comes to the hardest part, following it. Because this is where business owners get themselves in trouble. They introduce accountability and immediately start making exceptions. With my client, once they implemented the process, this employee very quickly ended up under performance review. Suddenly, we're not talking about feelings anymore. We had the standard, we had the behavior, we had the conversations, we had the opportunities to correct it, and we had the results. Nothing was getting rectified. That's one of the reasons I love having a process. It removes so much of the emotion. And this is especially for my leaders out there who are people pleasers. You don't have to sit there wondering, am I being too harsh? Am I being unfair? Should I give him one more chance? You gave him the opportunity, you clearly communicated it, you provided support, and now you get to see what he does with it. And that's important because sometimes the employee actually changes, which is great, because a lot of costly turnover issues can actually be prevented. You find out that you didn't need to fire them, you needed to lead them. You're not terminating somebody because you woke up frustrated one morning. You're making a decision based on a pattern of behavior they were given a fair opportunity to correct. For my client, it eventually became clear that this employee wasn't going to make the necessary changes. This was probably the worst possible time for her to let him go. She was already short-staffed, her top talent had left, she was tired. She knew a lot of his workload was going to fall directly on her. She was scared, but she stuck to her guns and she followed the process. She let him go, and yes, there was a dip. She had to pick up work, she had to hire, she had to interview, she had to train new people. It got harder before it got easier. The employee that she had been terrified to lose was gone, and the energy with her team completely changed. Instead of her business falling apart, she finally had the opportunity to build the team she had wanted all along. There's another benefit to this that owners completely underestimate. Your top performers see you holding the standard, they see that their efforts matter, they see that accountability applies to everybody, they see that when they carry their weight, you're not going to continually reward somebody else for refusing to carry theirs. That builds trust. That helps them feel safe under your leadership. Understanding that holding standards isn't just about correcting your weakest employee, it is about protecting your strongest ones. Your team is watching what you do, and every time that you follow through, you're showing them that this is what it means to work here. The right people will rise to that standard that you set. So as a recap, if you have that employee right now, the one that you think that you can't afford to lose, decide whether you're genuinely willing to build a company worthy of top talent. Second, reset the expectations fairly and make sure everyone understands the standard moving forward. Third, introduce a clear correction process and actually follow it. Then let the employee answer the question for you. Give them the opportunity to meet that standard. Maybe they rise, maybe they don't. But either way, you'll stop managing people based on fear, guilt, and emotion. Your strongest employees will know the standard actually means something. If you want the exact 3-strike correction process I use with clients, I've created a simple downloadable version that you can use with your own leadership team. It's going to walk you through how to address the issue, document it, give the employee a fair opportunity to correct it, and know when it's time to move on. Click the link below and download the 3-strike framework, because the goal isn't to become better at firing people. The goal is to build a company where great people want to stay. And that brings us to the bigger question. Holding the standard protects your culture, but how do you actually build a culture that top talent wants to be a part of in the first place? That's exactly what I'm breaking down in my next video. I'm going to show you how to intentionally build a company that attracts great people, reinforces who they want to be, and makes your best employees want to stay. I'll see you on the next video.